Hundreds of American universities have an open door policy to international students. They want you here. Many of these universities have waived application fees so as not to create a financial obstacle for any international students. They also provide hundreds of scholarships and financial aid to anybody who qualifies, especially those in need. One of the biggest questions that friends and family ask me is, how did you come to the United States? How did you land a scholarship? And in this video, I'm excited to share how I did it. Since you've clicked on this video, I'm assuming that you or a loved one are interested in studying in the United States. Or maybe you're just curious as to what I have to say. Either way, you are most welcome. My name is Bridget Wint. I am a Zambian American who immigrated to the United States over 20 years ago to study. In sharing my personal journey, my hope is that you will gain a lot of information that will help you in your journey or your decision making. I'm going to share information with you that I wish that somebody else had shared with me before I moved to the United States. But everything that I'm going to share with you today is relevant today. So a little bit of a disclaimer here. This is my personal journey. That doesn't mean that your journey will work out exactly as mine did. Studying in the United States is not for everybody, but you are certainly welcome to study here because so many schools have opened their doors, as I mentioned. So I'm hoping that everything I share today will shed light on what it's like to study here in the United States as an international student. I was born and raised in Zambia, went through high school and college in Zambia. I am a science high school teacher, and after teaching for about 5 years at Mukinge Girls Secondary School, which is an amazing, incredible school in the northwestern province of Zambia, I decided I wanted to further my studies. So why did I choose to come to the United States? I wasn't looking specifically for a school in the United States. My goal was to further my studies. I wanted to do my degree and master's degree somewhere. And so I started looking around for different schools. Remember, in those days, we had no internet. So you basically had to look at magazines, and maybe just by word of mouth, you may hear of a university that was offering scholarships. And I think there might have been some ads in newspapers, though I never saw any myself. A missionary friend of mine at Mukinge Girls happened to give me a magazine. In this magazine, I noticed that there were several colleges that advertised. I'm not sure if they even said anything about international students, but there were addresses there that I decided to write by hand. This was before email, this was before instant messaging and all of that. So I had to handwrite. I'm guessing it was probably to about 10 or 15 universities. Because my grades were so good, just about all the universities I applied to accepted me. But when I looked at the bill to study there, it was way beyond what I could afford. At that time, as a teacher, I was earning about $100 a month. And we all know nobody can go to a university in the US with $100 a month. So just to emphasize, because I think this is an important aspect to my journey, I was looking for an opportunity to further my studies. My family background is unique in the sense that my grandfather was a very, very educated man. He's the one who raised me. He was a medical practitioner. He was excellent in microscopic work. In fact, his work is well known and well documented.
I was a qualified doctor.
Yes.
Yes, and people respected me as a doctor who knows everything.
Yes.
Yes.
And they gave you white uniforms?
Uniforms, yes, exactly.
On my grandmother's side, she was a chief's daughter, and her father was a historian who was highly educated for his time. So I was raised by my grandparents, and both of them believed in educating their children and their grandchildren. So my family background prepared me for the desire that I had for further studies. After I wrote a letter of interest to all these universities, I had to wait for snail mail to get back to me so that they could instruct me on what to do next. It took months. All this to say, it is so much easier to apply to a US university today than it was 25 years ago. I'm telling you this story because it's part of my journey and also to encourage you that you can do this. Once my letter of interest was received by all these universities, they sent me application forms, and I hand wrote each application form for these universities. So I wrote all the information that they wanted and provided the essays and test of English as a foreign language, which is something I had to go to a whole other city to write. When I fulfilled all the requirements for these application forms, I then took them to the post office and sent them out, believing that somehow these letters would arrive at the college and somebody would look at them. As I mentioned before, all of them accepted me. However, the issue was funding. I had no personal funding myself. Listen, at $100, I was able to take care of myself at that time because I was a single woman, but there was no way I was going to be able to supply everything I needed in the US as an international student. So I did the next best thing. I looked for scholarships, and only one university out of the 10 to 15 that accepted me offered me a scholarship. This one university, that's the name of it, offered me a work-study scholarship, which means I was allowed to work for 20 hours during the school year and 40 plus hours during summertime. Other than that, they paid for some of my tuition fees as well. Going back a little bit, because this process literally took years, I ended up going to South Africa from Zambia to study there for 1 year. So when my scholarship was approved, I was already at another school. In fact, I remember a friend of mine saying,
"Why don't you just finish your degree in South Africa and forget about the US?"
I thought this was a great opportunity for me. So I wound up my 1 year studies in South Africa and decided to move to the United States. I had previously entertained some other ideas of going to Aberdeen, Scotland to study microbiology. Again, funding was in the way. I didn't see any scholarships that were being offered there. So when this university, which at that point it was a college, Philadelphia College of Bible, offered me this scholarship, I gladly took it. So in January 1997, I packed my bags from Zambia and decided to come and study in the US. I arrived in New York City, JF Kennedy. If you've been to that JF Kennedy airport, you know how complicated it is. So here I was, never been to the States. I arrived by myself, and guess what happened? The people that were supposed to pick me up at the airport were not there, and I panicked. Eventually, somebody was sent to pick me up the next day, after I found my way to a hotel. However, I did make it to the school, and thus began my journey as an international student in the United States of America. If you're enjoying this video so far, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I have so much information on this topic. You do well to subscribe so that anytime I post a video, you'll be the first one to know. So once I got here, I had to adjust to being here as a student. I was blessed to come to a small campus that had many international students, so the introduction to the US was a lot smoother than probably many people have experienced. Having lived in South Africa, Cape Town for a year, I believe prepared me to being in the US. At some level, it's pretty similar, and yet the culture is also very different. So I did go through some cultural shock, and it took me a while to adjust. In fact, I remember in the first year, I almost went back home. In another video, I'm going to share with you details about what you need to prepare as you transition from your country of origin to the United States as an international student. So be looking out for that video. When I arrived at my school, I had to hit the ground running. Classes started within a few days, so I started going to school, and also I had to start working. So that balance between working and studying was something very new to me. I'd never done it before. So that was part of my transition. Since this is an introductory video, let me leave you with a few tips that you need to know as you prepare to make your application to become a United States international student. First thing, make sure you have a good resume or CV. This should detail your educational background and any information about your work experience. If you don't know how to create a professional looking resume, you can Google it or even find a YouTube video that shows you how to create a professional looking CV or resume. Next, you need to make sure you have all your transcripts ready. And by transcript, I mean an official paper that shows you all the subjects you did and the grades you got. Many schools will ask for this transcript up front, but they may also want your previous high school or college to provide this information so that it is an official statement. Another important thing that many universities are looking for is a test of English as a foreign language. Many universities need to know that you are proficient in written and spoken English. This is important because all your instructions in college or universities will be conducted in English. You may have to do a test of English as a foreign language or another one. I'm going to put it over here because those scores will help them determine whether you qualify to be at their university or not. Some universities do not require this English proficiency test if your previous instructions in high school or in college were conducted in English. As an example, for me, a Zambian, all my instructions in primary school, in high school, and in college were conducted in English. So if I were to apply today, some of these universities would not require me to provide this test of proficiency in English. Talking of grades and transcripts, if you need to rewrite a subject that you didn't do well in, it's worth doing it as you prepare to make an application to a university in the United States. High grades will give you a higher chance of being accepted. So if you're not ready, it's worth taking the time to redo some of the subjects that you didn't do well in. As I indicated earlier, I had to handwrite all my applications individually to these schools. Nowadays, it's so much easier. You can apply to multiple universities here in the United States and even other countries using an app called Common App. This is it right here. I will also put this information in the description box so that you can just click on that one link and it will take you to Common App where you can apply to several universities in the United States. Now, when you do these applications, you should take your time. Make sure you go through every line and provide all the information that is needed. In a future video, I'm going to provide more information about the actual application process into the universities here in the US. Many universities also require that you pay an application fee. I believe it's somewhere around $25 per university. However, I've come across some universities that waive the application fee so as to make it easy for you to apply. I will be shedding more light on universities like this. If you want me to provide this information, just let me know in the comments. Then I will know that all this information I'm providing is being of help to you. This is simply an introduction video and there's so much more to come. I hope this video has been of help to you. Please be sure to subscribe and share this video with anybody in your life that you think is interested in studying abroad, especially in the United States. I think this will help them a lot. There are hundreds of scholarships available to people like you and I thought I would take the time to share with you my own story so that you can be inspired to take that journey if you were already thinking about it. I didn't know anybody here in the US. Nobody made the applications for me. I used the old snail mail and I still made it to the United States as a student. You don't need anyone to help you. You have a lot more information at your fingertips than I did. Our world has opened up. People from other countries come to study in the United States. People from the United States go to other countries to study. It's an open world. If you want to study in the US, what is stopping you? It's been wonderful spending this time with you. I wish you God's blessings and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.